there's so many people that are uber talented in the gym. Then you have to cut weight. So you have to be disciplined with your eating habits. You need to be recovering because you got to pick up your training intensity and stuff.
What do fighters think about other fighters that miss weight at the highest level?
Dude, I love training. Like, bro, we love training. We love fighting. We love getting better. It's like, what sucks is like when you have to do that, now you have to go to training and you have to compete and get better with way less energy.
What's your philosophy on why people should take martial arts?
I just think that it's the most well-rounded, all-encompassing tool for self-improvement, which I think self-improvement is really important for all of life, because we need to work on being the best version of ourselves so we can give our best to everybody else to help them be their best. It's so easy to fall victim to fatigue, listening to our body telling us, hey, I'm tired, let's not do that. But with martial arts, a lot of times you have to get used to operating at a high level when you're fatigued. Beware of those who claim that they know the truth.
Yeah, right.
And honor those who are seeking it. Georges St. Pierre I remember him saying one time, he was like, you don't fight somebody where you're the best, fight them where the gap is the biggest.
All right, man. We were just talking about, Instagram and how we're kind of going to like brand you, because listen, I want to talk about this because it's a fun conversation, because when you were saying that you talked about putting a camera in your face and you're uncomfortable with it, right? I was the same too. But now I see the power on where we're going as far as the digital age. That might be like a general question. I mean, general statement to some people like Gen Z or something like that. But I think that's where we're headed. How are you feeling about that? Because, dude, how are you feeling about a camera following you around? Because I think that's where we're headed. My video guy, Adam, over there.
Yeah, I have no problem with a camera in my face or follow me around. I feel like I'm pretty accustomed to that. It's when I'm doing it myself. That's the thing I don't like to do. That's where I feel weird, is like holding my arm out, my phone out, recording myself.
Is it because it seems like narcissistic a little bit?
Yeah, I feel like a douchebag holding my phone out, and like I'm just talking in the mirror. But I mean, it's not, but it just is the way it is. That's what we were talking about, of like, it's such a big part of our reality now, it's like, it's really not as weird as it may seem,
Are you thinking about that in fights when all these cameras on your face? Because that's part of like, I feel like that's part of why people want to get the UFC, because of the glory. I know that everyone fights for their own reasons, but then it's let's face it, right? Like, you have cameras in your face, you're in the biggest promotion of all time. So when you're walking out, is that one of your goals? Just to be like kind of transparent. It's kind of like, what I mean?
I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. For me, no. And what's so cool is like, I would love to have a podcast to be able to interview a shit ton of fighters for this reason. Because for me, no, it's not. For other people, I bet it is. And I don't think it's even a bad thing. Like, it's probably sick. Like, it's probably something you fucking look forward to ever since you're a little kid, of like, dude,
sure.
like I can't wait for all these lights and cameras, like, because it's a sick feeling, dude.
Yeah. Dude, talk about that.
When you're, I got a couple videos on my Instagram of like highlight reels and stuff, and I think a couple of them start with like me walking out. But like, dude, that view from like standing in the tunnel, getting ready to walk out to the fight, like you see, you're in the tunnel, you can see that you only have a partial access of the view of the arena, like all the crowd and everything. But then it's like, as you walk out, it just opens up.
Oh, dude. Whoa.
Yep. And dude, because you got cameras and stuff, big bright lights right in front of your face. And it's like, it feels like a movie. It feels like, holy shit, this is a lot.
It's almost like I made it kind of thing, would you say?
For sure.
Yeah.
That's absolutely how it feels like, but I don't think about any of that. Like, I don't think about, you feel it. My UFC debut, I was thinking about it, and it's like, dude, you stop being present. You're thinking about all this other stuff. Oh my God, I can't believe, and then it's like, bro, you got to fight. Like, you got a big job ahead. You better be right here, locked in.
When does that turn on though? When you just said that, it kind of opens up, and then you're conscious of that, right? When you're walking out, and think about that, dude, like Allegiant, Perth, right? Where you're fighting. I couldn't imagine, that's why I want to get like kind of the inside of it. When do you lock in, bro? is it your walkout? Is Joe Schilling slapping you in the back and be like, hey man, we're right here. It's time to go. And I saw, you know what's funny? When I think I was looking through your Instagram. No, it was your story where you posted Joe Schilling going, like, you know, he's smacking you in the back or something like that. What is that feeling like to be in backstage? What's going on, guys? If you're enjoying this podcast, please don't forget to like the videos and subscribe to the channel. Only if you're getting value out of it on YouTube and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to leave a rating and follow. And also, I also write a blog newsletter from what I learned from my incredible guests that I have on. So sign up for the email list and get updates on the podcast. Thank you for your love and support. Now back to the show. I guess let's talk about you. Yeah, I'm sure from him too. You know what I mean?
But that's the whole point of that. I love smacking the shit out of myself before the fight, because that sting, like, you know, like this, it hurts.
Yeah,
it doesn't, but it wakes your body up. Like, I don't want the first time that my body gets fucking blasted to be like in the fight and be like, oh God, you know, it's like, let's get that out of the way in the back. Like, get my body woke up, get used to that sting of you know, just some, you know, quick shock, you know, a little bit of pain.
Is that his method, or is it just you told him, hey, do this to me because of what you know just
what?
explained?
I don't even remember. I believe he said he used to do the same thing, but I asked him to do that because you see a lot of wrestlers and stuff doing it, you know, they'll smack their legs, smack their chest, like, but yeah, it's just, I mean, to me, it's just getting your body woke up, you know, of like, like, hey, motherfucker, be ready. This shit's about to get crazy for a second. Like, yeah, you know, you just don't want that. You know, the worst thing to have happen is like to be unprepared going into a situation of like not just fighting, but anything in life. So like to get the shock, the surprise factor out of the way is always good. You know, like that's why I think my UFC debut, all those lights and everything else like that kind of caught me off guard. The professionalism of it caught me off guard, is because I didn't know. I didn't really know how to visualize it or like prepare myself for it or anything like that, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right,
and
exactly.
So
I like that.
Being there the first time, I was so shocked by all of it. Oh my God, I'm in the fucking UFC. Like, it's crazy. That is whenever it's like, well, this is why it's a freaking lifelong dream coming to pass. And
can you take me back to when you got that call? Like, give it to me in the we didn't talk about this on the podcast last time, and I don't think I've ever asked actually that to any fighter that's been on here. When you, what's the process in that, without obviously like kind of giving too much about the business, but this just like some random agent call you, or your agent calls you and like, hey, do you want to take this fight? Can you take me through the process? Because I think that's very interesting of how the matchmaking part, where it's like, nah, we shouldn't do that. It's too soon. What's the decision process and how much control do you have of that? Between you and your manager.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was a Sunday evening. It was like later in the afternoon, and I got a call from my manager, and he said, hey, do you want to fight in the UFC this weekend? And I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. I was like, of course. Like, what are you talking about? And that's the whole goal, right?
What promotion were you fighting before?
So I had a fight coming up for FAC, which is was a UFC Fight Pass organization in Kansas City, Missouri. And I was actually fighting an ex-UFC fighter. I was fighting a UFC vet that had got released, and we were fighting for the FAC title. So I was fighting for a UFC Fight Pass organization belt,
part of the network,
which would have, I figured, was like, okay, after this, I'll be getting a shot in the UFC. Then it's funny because I remember telling myself, hey, don't be shocked. Don't be caught off guard. This whole surprise shock, you know, conversation we were just talking about, like it's good to get that out of the way. Like to be prepared for the moment. Don't be caught off guard by it. And I was like, don't be caught off guard when after this fight, you beat this UFC vet, you're, you know, 8-0 with a regional title, that you get a call from the UFC. Be ready for that. That way it doesn't hit me. I'm like, oh wow. Like, did
UFC, you know that? Did you know that? Like, you were like a hot prospect in their eyes. Did you kind of assume that, or was your manager just like, okay, well, we're 8-0, this is our position, and then he told you that? Or were you like, I'm in a streak, bro? Like, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was 7-0 at the time, and you know, that's definitely the direction you want to head. Is like that's the end goal, is the UFC. So I knew like that's what I was working towards. So I just wanted to start preparing myself mentally, like, hey, don't be surprised when you get the call. you know, and but it happened sooner than I expected, and it did catch me off guard.
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, whoa, what? Like,
Damn.
yeah,
Life, huh?
yeah. So I got the call Sunday evening, and I was like, yeah, of course. And he was like, all right, I just wanted to check and make sure you're good, healthy, and everything else. And then essentially I got put in a group of names, and then the guy that I was going to fight in the UFC got to pick from that group of names of to kind of like choose his opponent, you know. So anyways, I think it took a day or two. I think it might have been Monday evening, Tuesday. Yeah, shoot, that's crazy. I don't even really remember. I haven't thought about it much since then.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But anyways, it was a day or two, and then I got the call back and said, "Hey, they chose you. Like, get ready to go. Like, we're gonna." So then, you know, all the travel started getting booked. Like, figuring out, okay, let's try to get you where we got to get you out there as soon as possible. I had to do all my medicals. I did all my medicals in one day. When I got to Vegas, that's a funny, man. That was a funny day.
Is that when you moved?
No.
Oh, okay.
This was
You mean
3
like
years ago or so. It was a little over 3 years ago. And I've been out here in Vegas for about a year and a half. But anyways, I got the call, and you know, they told me like, hey, they chose you. Like, let's get you ready to go. They were trying to book me flights to leave that night, and it was a little bit too late, so they couldn't get one. So I left early the next morning. And that night, the night that I got, you know, the fight confirmed that I was going to fight in the UFC. I had to, you know, I spent like an hour on the phone with USADA. USADA was a drug testing agency at the time. I had to get put into the drug testing pool so I could immediately start getting drug tested so I could be eligible to fight. I had to pack up and get ready to go. I was calling my family like, yo, it's happening. Like, let's go. And then, so the next morning I had to get up at like 3 a.m. My flight was super early. I had a connecting flight. I flew from Fort Lauderdale to Atlanta, Georgia, and then from Atlanta, Georgia to Vegas. And my flight got delayed in Atlanta, the connecting flight. So I missed. I had to change my flight, and I got to Vegas even later. So I missed my first medical appointment. I was supposed to get I think I was doing the brain MRI first, and then so I had to jump I went straight from the airport to get my eyes dilated, to get my eyes tested. So as my phone was blowing up all day because it had just got released that I was like fighting in the UFC, so it was a big deal. Like, hey, you know, Evan finally made it to the UFC. Yeah, and dude, my eyes, I couldn't read my phone. I was like, damn it, I can't. Yeah, because they dilated my eyes for
why is that? For
just to test your vision. They have to make sure you can see well, you know, just like liability stuff to make sure you're healthy to be able to go into the fight. So couldn't read my phone or nothing all day, and then I had to go straight to another exam. I had to get a physical exam, and then finally got to stop and go eat. Freaking starving, you know, it's been a long day.
Get some Chick-fil-A. No, you, man, that's probably not the case. You probably ate some beef and rice or something.
I think I went to Whole Foods and ate something from the hot bar there.
My bad. Why did I assume?
No, that's all. I love some Chick-fil-A though.
I know.
But yeah, and then after that, later that night, I had to get a brain MRI. So, you know, all in one day, it was like wake up at 3 a.m, hop on one plane, missed the second one, so I had to get a different flight. Then I went straight to get my eyes dilated. I freaking couldn't see all day. I had to get a physical exam, and then finally went and got some food for the week because I still had to cut weight. I had to make sure I'm eating the right stuff. Yes. And then got the brain MRI, and then I finally went and got checked in at the Fighter Hotel, and that was during COVID. So it was it was around the end of COVID, but they were still isolated. They were at the Residence Inn, which was, they had a Fighters Hotel that was completely separate from everybody else. Right. So it's not like now, like when we're staying at like one of the big fighter hotels here in Vegas, where, you know, just the general public is also allowed. You know, it was like just a hotel for the fighters because it was all isolated and locked down still. But yeah, man, it was everything was just happening like that, you know, whirlwind. And then I had to, you know, the next day was like poster signings and, you know, getting my equipment checked and like I remember I was talking to Forrest Griffin, and you know, dude, that's like a crazy moment for me.
That's
Forrest
a crazy
Griffin,
moment.
Yeah, Forrest Griffin's like literally one of him and Stephan Bonner are like one of the fights that I specifically remember from a young age that like got me into the fight, you know? So I'm like, I'm finally sitting across the table talking to Forrest Griffin and I'm like, it just seems like so much stuff's happening all at once, right?
Such a stand-up guy too, right?
Oh,
like he goes to Syndicate. He's good friends
the
with
best.
John. Yeah,
Forrest is like one of the coolest.
He's
down to earth
cool.
dudes.
Yeah. He teaches tips on just a regular Muay Thai class. You know what I mean? Like a beginner's Muay Thai class. And other people don't recognize that. You know what I mean? It's like people that obviously haven't watched the UFC in the past, and then I'm sitting there like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm like, oh, that's cool. This older guy that's clearly got
yeah. Some people are thinking like that. And that's why it's so subjective.
It's like, oh, that's a legend.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had to do all the other stuff, and then I was still cutting weight. I had to get a training session in and stuff like that, and so it just seemed like a whirlwind. And before I knew it, I was in the back getting warmed up, and I was like, oh my God, I got to fight still. Like I've been so focused on all this other stuff, you know, of like getting all the exams done and doing the poster signings and the equipment check and you know, answering my phone and like all this other stuff. And the last thing that was on my mind was the fight for some reason, you know?
Yeah, and there's so much going on.
It was just so much. I was just trying to figure out how to get through the next thing all the time. And then before I knew it, I was bouncing at the curtain, getting ready to walk out. And I was like, holy shit.
I could imagine.
And but yeah, man, I mean, that's whenever the lights and stuff really got to me, was like, you know, because they were like, hey, you got to walk when we count you down. We're going to show, you know, I was like, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, walk, let's go.
Oh, interesting. That's what happens.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, walk, or you got some guy and then your coaches are behind you.
Yeah.
Dude,
so it's super professional, you know? It's so anyways, I'm not used to that, you know, just freaking coming off the regional scene. It was way less scripted and professional stuff like that. So it's just an adjustment period. And but that, I mean, that's part of the cool, you know, that's part of what makes it so hard, is like that transition period is like, that's why so many people, you gave the example earlier before we started of like how few podcasts actually make it, you know. It's like, you know, what would you say, like 1% of podcasts make it past 20 episodes?
Exactly. And that's such a mind-blowing statistic, right?
Yeah.
Because you can relate that to all fields. You know what I mean? Like, that's mind-blowing that 20 episodes, that's it, right? But then when you're actually in it, I'm like, oh, because we think of like, say, podcasting or fighting, it's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. Dude, that's like 10% of it. The other is like training. The other is setting up cameras. The other is getting my video guy over here to make sure everything's on lock. And then when people actually like realize how much work it takes and not just talking here with, you know, some UFC lightweight fighter, they're like, oh, I can't. It's too much work.
It's too much.
It's 90% of what you do. It's like, you got to set up these mics, you got to buy shit, you know?
It's so like, it seems like, oh, I want to do this thing, but you think all you got to do is that thing, but there's so many other things that are so tightly related and that you have to work on to be able to do this one thing
that you don't want to do.
So multifaceted. It's not just a singular thing that you have to do. You have to do a bunch of other things outside of this just to make sure you can do this one thing. And that's the stuff that really deters, you know, most people. So
it's a great point.
And that, you know, that's kind of what it is with the fight. There's so many people that are uber talented in the gym, and you know, but then you have to cut weight. So you have to be disciplined with your eating habits. You need to be recovering because you got to pick up your training intensity and stuff. So you need to make sure you're not staying out all night. You got to freaking get in bed. You know, Muhammad Ali had this quote about how,
say it.
But honestly, I don't even really know it that well, but it was basically just along the lines of like, yo, the hard part is not fighting. It's like the hard part's like making sure I'm in bed at 9 p.m.
Right.
And I'm not going out and partying and making sure my food's on point and all this other stuff, you know? So, it really is like, that's like, it's the importance of the little details and everything that you do in life, not just doing the big things, you know? At the end of the day, it actually kind of gets easy to do the big things. What's hard is like making sure, are you paying attention to all the little details and everything that you're doing day to day?
So would you say with the weight cutting, I want to know what you think about this candidly. Okay. Like, I know that,
hate it.
Well, I know that it's unprofessional to you, or maybe it's from a fan's perspective. That's why I want to know from you. What do fighters think about other fighters that miss weight at the highest level?
I mean, it sucks. It's part of our job. dude, the weight cut's the hardest part. Like
exactly.
by far. Like I mean, in my opinion, dude, I love training. Like, bro, we love training. We love fighting. We love getting better. It's like, what sucks is like when you have to do that, now you have to go to training and you have to compete and get better with way less energy, and like you're tired easier. And that's the type of stuff that makes everything else so much harder. You know, like you're saying, like we want to do the podcast, or we want to fight or whatever, right? And it's like this one thing, but it's like, then you got to factor in, okay, do you still want to fight when you have no energy because you're cutting weight? Or like, do you still want to fight when you need to try to be responsible with your social media and, you know, stuff like that. And like making sure you have to, you know, balance family life and outside relationships and all this other stuff. It's just this fine interplay, this big juggling act of like trying to balance all these things.
Yeah.
And, the more variables and the more factors you have in it is what makes it harder and harder to deal with. And that's why so few people end up going through and following through with like what the thing that they thought they wanted to do. You know, why so many podcasts stop before 20 episodes, or you know, we gave the example of the belting system in jiu-jitsu, you know, so it's
right.
It's
can you go over that, man?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, and you know, to be completely honest, I'm just using totally arbitrary numbers.
Absolutely.
But I've heard this example used before, but I would imagine it's probably not far from accurate. Is you know, about 1% of people that start doing jiu-jitsu make it to their blue belt, you know. So for those that don't know, the belting systems in jiu-jitsu, when you're brand new, you start as a white belt, right? So no experience, white belt. After that is blue belt, and then purple belt, brown belt, and black belt. So there's only really 5 levels.
5 with white, stripes blue, in between. Yeah.
With stripes in between.
Yeah.
And honestly, some gyms don't even do stripes. So I mean, the big stepping stones, the big, you know, the cornerstones are white belt, blue, purple, brown, black. You know, so there's only 5 levels, and from the amount, the percentage of people that make it from white, so brand new, first starting, to making like a blue belt just blue belt. You know, it's like you're still a long way from you know, the top of the game at black belt, if that's the top of the game, because that's another discussion. But But from white belt to blue belt, only about 1% of people make it. You know, 99% of people fall off before then, because it's like, it seems like a good idea. It's cool. And it is. It's dude, I think jiu-jitsu, I tell everybody all the time, I'm like, dude, if you are physically capable, you should train martial arts. Like, I don't think hardly anybody should fight. I think fighting's really dumb.
Say that again.
I think if you are physically capable, you should train martial arts.
Okay, interesting.
It's the greatest tool for self-development. It really is.
Can you go into that, like, personally for you? You know, anyone who trains kind of has an understanding of that, but obviously, subjectively, you see it a different way, being like a UFC fighter. Give me your insight on that. Like, why do you think people should train martial arts? Not that this is a selling point, but then from your eyes, being at a high level now, and I want to talk to you about like how much you train jiu-jitsu, because you have to worry about other things like the fight, and I'm sure there's a lot of things going on. A lot of people just do it as a hobby, right? They take their class and then they go home to their family, rightfully so. But how do you think of that, man? What's your philosophy on why people should take martial arts?
I just think it's the most well-rounded, all-encompassing tool for self-improvement. You know, so like you're big on this the self-improvement journey, right? Of like, you see the value in it.
Save my life.
It's like it's such a good way to. I mean, for me, it's a good way to find purpose, you know, of like bettering yourself for a specific reason. You know, for me, generally, I would imagine it's usually for others, you know, of like, oh, I need to be a better version of myself so I can make sure I take care of, you know, my sisters or my brothers, my mom, my dad, you know, my kids, my wife, my husband, whatever. And, you know, but it could be any number of things, you know. It's like, dude, I just need to freaking, you got a bad habit that you need to stop, and it's like, this is like something that's going to fill that spot,
the outlet, the void.
Exactly.
The void.
So
yeah.
Anyways, but I just think that it's the most well-rounded, you know, all-encompassing tool for self-improvement, which I think self-improvement is really important for all of life, you know, because we need to work on being the best version of ourselves so we can give our best to everybody else to help them be their best. I really like the quote that if you want to get the best of others, give the best of yourself.
Oh,
you know? So be the best you can be to give the best of yourself to other people to get the best of them in return, you know, to make everybody's life better. But the reason that's so good is because physically, obviously, you know, it's like, it's really important that we take care of our vessel, you know, our freaking our flesh that we're stuck in, and our vehicle. So we have to make sure we're staying physically healthy. That way we can more easily monitor our mood, regulate our emotions, and have an outlet where we're not taking it out on, we're not lashing out at people in our life, unnecessarily and stuff like that. So physically, I think it's a great way to stay in shape because it's a really good workout, disguised by kind of a game.
I love that.
It's like you're playing a game, but it's actually a workout, but it's disguised as a game. So you're not thinking about just walking or running on the treadmill and how much this sucks every single step of the way.
When is it done?
Yeah, exactly. You're thinking about, okay, I need to move my hips this way, and then I'm like, oh, he's passing my guard or whatever. You just have so many things to think about. Or for your striking, you're like, okay, I need to make sure I'm pivoting my foot. Yeah, it's like, your mind is focused on doing the technique while your body is still super physically active. So it's a great way to stay physically active, and especially for those that really dread working out. I love working out. I love going to the gym. I love when it sucks. I love whenever I'm only focused on it sucking. I'm fucking running and I'm thinking about every single step sucks, or whatever. But for most people, they hate it, so and totally understandable. But anyways, that's to another segue into the why this is such a good tool is because you do get put into situations that are very uncomfortable. You are getting fatigued. It's like you're now, as we're getting more tired, it becomes easier to stop focusing on those details. Okay,
that's right.
Now I'm not focused on turning my foot and rotating my shoulder and bringing my hand back to my face. Yeah. I'm thinking about, oh my God, I'm exhausted.
Elbow in the pocket,
and then everything in the back of my and then so you're losing sight of all the details and stop being conscious and focused on what it is you're supposed to be working on because you're falling victim to your mind. And now you're just thinking about how tired you are, right? Yeah. So it's a great way to train your mind to stay focused on the right things when you're physically exhausted. Yeah. So I mean, it's physically and mentally, and then especially when you're doing it with a bigger purpose of like self-improvement, because I'm trying to be a better version of myself or my family, or to positively impact the world, or to get X, Y, or Z, whatever it is. That's like the spiritual side of things for me. Is like, that's like, you get the physical side from being physically active, taking care of your health, the mental side of disciplining your brain to listen to not fall victim to listening to your body. Because a lot of times what ends up happening is like we have all these great ideas and goals and desires, and then whenever we get tired, we don't follow through. It's like, oh, tomorrow I'm fucking getting up and I'm running. I'm gonna read my book. I'm gonna make sure I'm packing my kids' lunches and whatever it may be, any number of things. And then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God, I'm tired. And before you know it, you're like, you know what? I'm not doing any of that. Like, it's so easy to fall victim to fatigue. Listening to our body telling us, hey, I'm tired. Let's not do that. But with martial arts, a lot of times you have to get used to operating at a high level when you're fatigued. So it's a great great skill to be able to. I mean, to me, that's the skill of discipline. Regardless of how I feel physically, I'm going to make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think it's just a great way to train that is through martial arts.
It's great feedback too. So if you're doing something wrong, right? Like say if you went on vacation, had in and out the whole time or whatever, and your body's gonna let you know, even your mind, right? You're just bloated. You're just not. Your cardio's off. Especially if you do it to a T, like meaning if you're so specific in what you eat every day, and then you're so specific in training, those small things that like kind of mess you up during vacation, you're going to notice.
You notice them.
Your feedback, the body for your feedback be like, hey man, you had too much sugar or something. Yep. Like I said, it's such a good feedback mechanism for that. Also, I think, like I was saying, martial arts is such subjective to themselves. So even though I'm not, let's say, a high level like UFC guy, right? In my mind, I kind of am. You know what I mean? Like since I train, right? And I think that's all that matters. Because I think it's also like an aura about you. So I was
brings you confidence, builds your confidence.
Exactly. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going around with my chest, but you know what I mean? Like Superman picking on people. I mean,
but no, it's not about that. Right? It's not about that, because it's about knowing you can do hard shit.
Yes.
It's knowing that you can push yourself, right? It's not the confidence. That's where, and unfortunately, this is a sad reality of a lot of martial arts, especially at a lower level, in my opinion. It is very ego driven. People are like, oh, I'm gonna get in the gym. Sure. I want to be the fucking man, So I want to be able to beat people up or whatever, So Dude, just like with anything in life, there's going to be people with bad motives. It doesn't make martial arts bad.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, martial arts will get a bad rap a lot of times because they're like, oh, look at these freaking meathead MMA fighters. They just want to be tough or whatever, right? And it's like, yeah, maybe some of them, maybe some people, but I think those people kind of get weeded out because, dude, this shit gets hard. It gets really hard.
I can't even understand that when you say that. Like, you know what I mean? Because you're there and I can't even comprehend. Meaning I understand, but I'm I don't, because
I mean,
I have to be at that level to like I get the concept. I get the principle, but I'm like, dude, this is like too.
Well, just like we just said, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And,
yes. Like training with you, right? I'm like, this is fucking a whole nother thing. This is great.
And I appreciate you saying that. But the same is still true for me. It's like, it seems like I'm, to you, it feels like I'm a giant leap above. And to me, I understand that there's still guys that are giant leaps and bounds above me. And again, like you were saying, like the same, just as much as you feel like you're like, oh, okay, I see what you're saying, but like, I know I can't understand it because I don't have the perception. I don't have the awareness like you do.
The experience.
Yeah. It's like, I know there's guys that I'm like, oh yeah, I think I got this stuff figured out, or I understand the game, but it's like, I feel like that's just the natural way of life. If we're doing things correctly, is we will always look back and be like, oh, I thought I knew.
Hindsight's 2020.
Hindsight's always 2020. And I hope I don't ever get to a place in life where I stop growing and evolving to where I'm like, no, I got to figure it out.
Yeah.
I just wrote a quote the other day I really, really love. And it was something like, honor those who are seeking the truth, beware of those who have found it.
Interesting. Can you go into that?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's amazing because, I think the truth is there's always a deeper truth and awareness to be had, right? So just because you think you know something doesn't mean that you know it all the way, right? Like you can always understand something even deeper, right? So beware of those who have found the truth, because that basically means like, hey, I got it all figured out, right? And usually those that are proclaiming that don't, right? And because we should come to a realization of like, oh, this is never ending. Like I'm never going to stop learning. So therefore I will never have it figured out. So beware of those who claim that they know the truth.
Yeah, right.
And honor those who are seeking it, because those who are those who probably know the most are the ones that understand that like they will never truly understand, because they're going to be constantly progressing and improving instead of being there's another quote that's like, it's impossible to teach something. It's impossible to teach somebody something they already know, right? Because once we have the perception that we know it, we'll stop taking in information about that thing, because why would we? We already know it. I don't need to learn more about it.
I love that.
So it's like that's why it's a constant assault on your ego. We have to constantly be fighting our ego to be like, hey, I don't know anything. I don't know anything because I want to continue to evolve and get better. And because of that, I have to leave my walls down in my mind, to make sure that I'm capable of receiving any new information. And so I really like that one, honor those who are seeking the truth and beware of those who know it.
It's one of the hardest thing to do as far as like mental gymnastics with your own self. It's kind of like, to be able to learn. So I brought this up on another podcast where it's like, just because you're an expert in one thing, it doesn't mean that you're an expert in another thing. And I think people kind of, and I get it, it's human nature, but then they take that expertise that they have and then try to bring it to someone else. It's like, no, that's really, like, say if you're a UFC fighter, right? And then all of a sudden you get in tech. And then just because you're like a high level, you have this ego of saying, yeah, I read a little bit about tech. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I already knew that. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. You can say, I don't know. It's simple as saying, I don't know. But that's one of the hardest things to do. Is to admit that to yourself.
Especially if you are high level at something, because your ego has gotten accustomed to being the man. It's like, I'm like, oh, it feels good being good at this thing. Like it feels really comfortable being good at something. Like we really like that. So whenever we have to move into a new area in life and be like, oh, I'm not good at this, we have to get back into uncomfortability, and our ego hides from that, And that's why, as cliche as it is, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's how you constantly assault your ego. It's like a full-on war against your ego, is to constantly keep moving yourself into uncomfortability, because your ego wants to keep you in comfortability. But the uncomfortability is where all the learning and the growth happens.
Yeah.
So
I want to ask you about like your training because okay, so we were talking about jujitsu, right? And then obviously I follow you, I watch your stories. And the thing is that how do you obviously, you know, you've trained me a few times, right? And I find you as this like striker guy. That's what we've been working on. When do you find time for other things like jujitsu? And, you know, I know wrestling's kind of mixed with that, the wall work and all that stuff. When do you find time? Do you separate, like Ilya Taporia, do you separate those things? Or do you mix it all? Do you just mix it all together? Like, because I only ask that because, like, say Marab, he'll jump into like a jiu-jitsu class, but then he's mostly just, you know, kind of in there sparring, training, being in the pro class. What's your methodology of, and how important, this is a big topic actually. How important do you think jiu-jitsu is? Training it, relating to what you're doing as far as like getting in the cage, because some people, and I forgot where I heard this from, I truly did, some people would say, well, jujitsu doesn't matter that much when it comes, it does, like as far as, you know, getting into scrambles and all that stuff, but it doesn't, fighting has come a long way, martial arts has come a long way, and then that's just what I heard, is that jujitsu isn't as prevalent, and maybe that's subjective to the person. But then it's kind of like, well, you have to, wrestling is, you know, striking is, and all that.
yeah, I think it's a pretty loaded question. There's a lot of things to get into, but to answer your first question about how I kind of divide up my time, you know, into you know, whether I separate the martial arts or do them all together, and it is really hard. That's one of the hardest balancing acts of actually, to go back to Forrest Griffin. I just had a meeting at the UFC PI with some of them, and Forrest gave this analogy of like, with MMA, it's really hard because every fight starts on the feet, and the most used weapon on the feet is your hands. Yes. So boxing is probably the most important, you know? And so then you have a wrestler that comes in and says, hey, doesn't matter if it starts on your feet, doesn't matter how good your boxing is, if I can take you down, all that stuff's nullified. Therefore, wrestling is what's most important. And then you got like a jujitsu guy, and he's like, you know, I don't care if you take me down, I'm going to submit you off my back.
Yes,
like,
yes.
So jujitsu is the most important. And then your strength and conditioning coach is like, hey, none of this matters if you're exhausted.
If you're exhausted, yeah.
So strength and conditioning is the most important.
Right. Yeah.
And then, you know, and then there's wall work, and then there's, you know, the mindset stuff. And it's like, what is the most important? It seems like everything is the most important. And honestly, that's what I would say. It's like everything is the most, I don't know. I'm thinking about that as I said it. Everything is the most important. Everything is super important, but at the same time, it's hard to, if you think about your skills, like you're just filling up a bucket, right? Like the bucket being full is representing your like full understanding, or, you know, like a 10 out of 10 in that skill. If you're just putting a little bit of water in each bucket at a time, it's going to take a while to raise those buckets, you know? So if you're focusing on all these different skills all at once and just putting a little bit of water in them at a time, if you come up against a guy that has a bucket full in one of those things.
I mean, that's just time and experience at that point, right? And the amount of training that he does. But I'm sorry,
you know, he might be an expert in that one thing, but like he's way better in that one bucket. He has it way more full. You might be better than him in all those other buckets, but he's so much better at you at this one thing. If he can make sure to get the fight there, you will not beat him. So George St. Pierre I remember him saying one time, he was like, you don't fight somebody where you're the best, fight them where the gap is the biggest. And this is, I think, a really deep insight for fighting, because he said, I think he gave the example of like, say your striking is a 9 out of 10. You're basically a striker. Your opponent's striking is an 8 out of 10. You're a better striker than they are, but your wrestling is a 7 out of 10 and theirs is a 4. You should wrestle that dude.
Sure. Yeah.
Because even though you're better at striking than you are at wrestling, the gap is the biggest between your guys' wrestling. So you should have the most success in the wrestling department. You know, and that's just an example, but to get back into what I personally do,
particularly in like jiu-jitsu, because I asked that because jiu-jitsu is such like a world, like I think out of all the martial arts, like people, their parents are training them at an early age now, like 4 or 5, and I could understand why, right? It's a discipline. It's like your kids won't get hurt as much as like
It's just-
taking Muay Thai or something.
That's what we were just talking about. It's people
Yeah.
are recognizing the importance and the value of martial arts outside of the mats, right?
Yep.
The structure, especially for kids. I think kids is like, it's one of the best things you could do for kids.
Oh, dude.
The things that traditional martial arts, especially not MMA per se, but like doing like a gi jiu-jitsu program or like karate or taekwondo, so any of these things, there's such structure, discipline, routine, teamwork. You have to work together with others. You know, it's like there's so many benefits. You know, you're being physically active, like you're you know, for a kid especially, I'm sure, like, you know, kind of taking them out and wearing them out so they're not such a handful at the house. You know, so but yeah, there's just so many benefits. There's so many upsides to martial arts that you take on the mat and bring them off the mats as well. So I think a lot of people are seeing that now, especially for kids and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So going back to, you know, what you train, how do you approach that? Like, say, do you wake up one morning and it's like, I got a gap in my game, what do we need to work on? Do you game plan it for the other guy that you're gonna fight? You know, is it something that you're lacking? How do you approach that in the morning?
Generally, I would say, for one, it's not a good idea to do it in the morning, I don't think, in the sense of like, let me figure out what I need to do today. I've done I think it's okay to do that. I think it's good to go through different periods where I've had times where I'm like crazy structured, where I know for a month, I know what I'm doing every single day. You know, like I'm doing this training session at this time, you know, I'm working on my wrestling this day, I'm working on my striking this day. And then I've had times where I felt like I needed to change stuff up and I'm like, I'm going to get out of structure. I'm going to just see where things take me. You know, for me, I'm a very religious guy, so I'm like, it's really easy for me to do that. It's really easy for me to take my hands off everything. I'm like, okay, I'll just see what God brings me, you know. And I think that's actually one of the best ways to do it. Sometimes, I'm sorry, I literally just said not to do that.
Like, never say never kind of thing.
Yeah. It goes back and forth, but you don't want to be overly structured, because then you're going to miss out on the good things that God is trying to bring to you, or that life is trying to teach you, right? Because you're trying to control it too much. And it's not always super good to be completely loose and have no structure, right? Because there is a lot of value in having like some routine, you know, some understanding of, you know, the way you want things to go. But yeah, I think it's a good balancing act between the two. But generally, I would say most people, most teams, and the way that they're structured, they'll sprinkle in a little bit of everything throughout the week. So it's like, maybe Monday will be MMA drills. You know, you come in, you're doing a little bit of punches into some takedowns, and then defending takedowns, and then getting up off your back, and then doing some wall wrestling. So you kind of get all encompassing, you know, and then maybe you'll do some striking in the evening, and then maybe you'll do jiu-jitsu Tuesday morning, and then you'll do some MMA drills in the evening, and then wrestle or spar on Wednesday, and then do strength and conditioning in the evening, and then you'll do more sparring on Thursday, or maybe, you know, whatever it is. So it's usually just like MMA, wrestle, jiu-jitsu, spar, lift, take a break. and then wall wrestling and more jiu-jitsu, whatever it is. So it's to me, as of now, I've been trying to, like, you know, you brought up Ilya Taporia. He says that I believe I know what you're talking about. He was saying how, you know, when he's out of camp, especially, he trains in each individual martial art. You know, he wrestles to wrestle. He does jiu-jitsu for jiu-jitsu. He doesn't try to alter or modify the art for MMA, which, because everything does need to be altered in some form to be put into MMA, because you have to do them all together, you know. So it's jiu-jitsu works for jiu-jitsu, because you don't have to worry about getting elbowed in the face off your back, or like grounded, pounded while you're rolling under for a leg lock, right? So some of that stuff has to be altered whenever you do have all that stuff. Same thing with wrestling. I'm not in a wrestling stance. Freaking like kicked in the teeth. You know, so it's like I have to be able to wrestle from up here, you know, while having a good understanding of like defense and being in a position to be offensive as well.
Interesting.
You know, so it is hard. But yeah, that is what makes it so hard, is being able to learn. I think it's a good idea. I've had this conversation a couple times with several people now. And I personally think now it's a good idea to have a really solid background in one thing, to be like really high level at one thing.
Specialization.
To be a specialist in one thing.
And what's that for you?
what is my special?
Yeah, like I just
MMA.
want to get it out.
Yeah, I don't have one. That's why.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why now looking back, I'm like, oh man, I wish I would have been like elite at this. Or actually, I don't wish anything. I don't wish things to be different at all.
Yeah, right.
I'm very happy with the way things are, and who knows how things would change if I were to change any one thing. Butterfly effect type deal.
Yeah.
So, but if I could take when I become a coach, I can't wait to be a coach. I love martial arts, and I love people. I love sharing, what I love and trying to help other people, live a better life. And I think martial arts is one of the best tools for that. So, if I were to take a new pupil and build him from the ground up, I would probably have them, be great at one thing. And maybe that one thing now is MMA, now that it's so much more well structured and established and stuff.
It's its own thing.
But I do think it's incredibly important to be really, really high level at one thing so you can learn how to learn, because I think that's the most important skill there is to learn how to learn.
The meta skill, the ultimate meta skill.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was, but there's a quote that says that the only truly sustainable advantage over your adversary is the ability to learn faster than they can.
Yeah.
And it's because over a certain amount of time, it doesn't matter if you're far ahead of me. If I'm getting better, if I'm improving, covering more distance than you are, it's only a certain amount of time before I catch up and surpass you.
Sure.
So that's really the only sustainable skill. But it's really hard. A lot of times it's really easy to look over really deep, hard to understand details. When you don't currently understand that in another area of life, so like, there's another quote that's like, if you should know a little bit about everything and everything about something. And I think that's why that quote says that. It's because the deeper you can understand any one thing, the deepest you understand whatever it is the most about, that is the level in which you are capable of knowing anything else, right? I can't understand something greater than, I can't understand more details than what I'm capable of understanding with the thing that I understand the most. So get really good at one thing, and then you're going to be able to get good at other things easier, because you're going to have a recipe and an understanding of like, oh, this is how I got really good at this one thing. I can now apply that same recipe or, equation to this other thing. But instead, a lot of us, including myself, this is what I've done my whole career, is just dabble in everything. So I'm getting a little bit better everywhere.
Right.
But a lot of success is exponential. As you start having more success, you figure out, you figure out how to have more success.
Just to reiterate what you were saying, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, is that you specialize in something because it's a blueprint of the other things that you're doing. Kind of like, say, if it's striking, you kind of know, it's like thinking in principles almost. Like saying, okay, well, I got good at striking. It's not so much how you strike and throw a punch. It's more of like how the methodology of going about it. Like, say, okay, so for instance, in a general point of view, kind of like how do you get good at something? Show up, consistent. That's the first step, right? And then you could kind of break it down into, well, how do you stay consistent? Well, you sleep early at night. It's not a how-to guide. It's more of like, oh, okay, since I got really good at striking, this is what I did to get good.
Yep.
Not like, oh yeah, how do you throw a kick? It's more like,
I think you nailed it with the concepts thing. I think you said principles, but principles and concepts I think are the same thing.
Like learning how to learn, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. What ends up happening is you can umbrella and summarize. I'm trying to think on the spot right here, trying to figure out how to articulate this, but I think that like, in order to really know something well, like to be really high level at something, you have to know all the little small intricate details of it, right? And that's what determines your level of proficiency, is how well you know all the little details, right? Yeah. So it's like if I tell you like throw a right hand, like I'm throwing my right hand. Yeah. Like I'm throwing a right hand, but it's like, am I keeping my elbow in? Am I turning my wrist in so it's loaded and contracted to it? And now am I loading my hip? Am I pivoting my back foot when I go? Am I keeping my lat engaged? Am I hiding behind my shoulder? Am I keeping my eyes on my punch? Am I reverse motorcycle?
Are you hitting with a knuckle?
Right. What knuckles am I hitting with? Right. So there's a lot of details in just that one thing. And now when you know all the details, you can summarize it with an umbrella statement of throw a right hand. Right. Now I can say, cross, and you do all those details. Yeah. Right. But you have to, the hard part is figuring out all those details.
I mean, geez.
So that's why it's important to work in concepts though, is you learn generally, you said something earlier and I didn't want to stop you, and I can't remember what it was, but I was going to say that like, I think you brought up like, okay, I learned how to strike and now I'm going to try to learn how to do this thing. And the important thing was the concepts, but really what I would say is like a lot of the important things is the body mechanics is like, that's what athleticism is to me is, say you're a basketball player, you know, I don't actually, this is probably a terrible example because I can't see basketball.
Yeah, it's all good.
But like
soccer.
I can't fucking play soccer.
Okay.
I'm very unathletic, best sport wise.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Yeah.
the say you understand how to play basketball really well, right? And now you're, you know, what's a couple good things that would come from that is like you're gonna get really good at running, you're gonna get good at jumping, maybe backpedaling, playing defense or something. I don't really know.
Yeah.
But your body, you're gonna build these natural body mechanics of moving in these certain patterns, and when you get really good at them, you get more efficient. So you're cutting out. A lot of times you get better by subtracting. Right. So for me to get better at this movement, I don't need to do more. It's actually figuring out how to do less.
Yeah.
You know, to get from point A to point B in a shorter amount of time. And so once you start understanding that, right, of like, okay, these are the body mechanics I needed to do for this, and I shorten that up by doing this. Now, when I go to learn this new athletic endeavor, it's like, okay, I don't understand how to throw this right hand, but I know I need to get it from there to there quicker and shorter. And it's like, how did I do that when I was doing that with my broad jump or whatever else? So the more different, the more knowledge you have about any other thing, especially if it's, you know, closely related, the better that you can cross relate that information to apply it to whatever it is you're doing now.
Yeah.
And so if you know, there's this quote that I like about training. It's like, if you learn a technique, you know a technique. If you learn a concept, you know thousands of techniques.
Yes.
And that's what makes learning and concepts and principles so important, is you're going to be able to get so much more out of it. You know, this is why like basic warm-up drills are so important for jiu-jitsu. You know,
You're big on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
when I trained with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, it's concepts, right? It's just understanding how to move your body. It's like, okay, this is, I can teach you you know, say you're shrimping, you know, doing half guard, you know, you're doing, butt scoots, whatever, you know, up and down the mat. And it seems silly, but it's like, dude, that's one of the most essential movements for jiu-jitsu,
like the arm drag stuff.
If
right?
you're doing
the motion,
if you're doing, you know, if you're getting out of half guard, if you're getting out of side control, if you're moving your hips to do an arm bar, it's like that one movement can be applied to so many different areas. That's where concepts comes in,
right?
You know, so
yeah. Do you think that it is a process though, to where you have to learn all that and then cut the fat down? Like you have to kind of, okay, so someone's teaching you like how to punch, right? And then to be efficient at it, it's like, oh wait, I'm doing too much.
Yeah,
like, I'm doing too much movement. So you almost have to take your journey on like, okay, I know how to punch. Wait, actually, you have to adjust this, cut that out, right? Like cut that big, like what do you call it? Stop flaring your shoulder, you know, and all that. So it's almost like you have to get there in order to realize how to be more efficient, almost.
Yeah,
right?
The whole process. It's funny. Learning is so
go back, right?
Is so funny. Is like I know I've told you this quote before. I love this one, but this is exactly how I look at learning. Is like it's this upward circle all the time. Is the quote is T.S. Eliot. He says that we shall not cease from exploration, and at the end of all of our exploring will be to arrive back at the place where we first began, but to know the place for the first time.
Ooh,
you know, so it's the same with techniques. It's like when I go to learn something, I have this thing, and then I go out on this adventure and I learn all these different details, like keeping my elbow in, pivoting my foot, keeping my lat turned on, you know, you hiding behind my shoulder, pointing my knuckles, and then you get back to the beginning and you're like, oh, I just need to turn. Like you can summarize all that stuff up. So you have to go on this adventure of making it super detailed and complex to be able to come back and say, oh, it was really just this simple all along.
Yeah.
You know, so that's I like that quote a lot, because that's what I think about learning is like, that's why you have to learn in concepts at the end of the day, is because there's so many individual techniques, like an infinite amount of individual techniques that you can't consciously think about all that stuff all the time. It's too much.
Yes.
You have to dumb it down and simplify it. So that's where the concepts come from. It's like, oh, I need to straighten my leg and I need to straighten my leg, get on my shoulder, keep my elbow in, you know, there's just so many things. And it's like, yeah, just move your butt. Like just get butt scoot, shrimp. You know, that's why you summarize all these freaking details with just one word.
Yeah, which is why you make analogies, right? Because it makes it easy for understand. Like you were telling me, By the way, I'm very the way that you train me has changed my game. I gotta say that.
Awesome,
In
thanks.
all the most genuine. I'm like, you know what I realized, that segueing into another thing is that it's a lot of mindset. When I was practicing, the things that you just taught me and Andrew, right? You were like, oh, fuck you. And I was reading, why I say that is because I was reading this book, Relentless and Winning by Tim Grover, who trained Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. I think somewhere along the way, growing up, I used to play basketball and football, in high school. And I had that competitive, like, no, you ain't taking this from me, motherfucker, like all that. Somewhere along the way, when I reached adulthood, I lost a lot of that, the tenacity, every relentlessness, and give me that fucking ball, Like, now for me, it's like just the flowing and yeah, let's just go. And dude, you know what's funny and what I thought of the gym? I'm like, just doing that. I'm like, whoa, wait, hold on, man, I'm not that. I'm a killer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it's like you're doing that. You're in the wrong sport
You're in the wrong sport.
Be dancing around.
What stuck out to me was like, dude, and this is it's a unorthodox way of telling someone like, yeah, and I believe Joe Schilling told you this, that when you're in there, fuck you, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like that's why I say it's a mindset kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you turn it on and when you say rhino magnet, right? And for people that don't know, it's just analogies to focus. You focus on whoever you're fighting on and not get off base.
Yeah.
But when I think of the mindset, I'm in a whole different environment. I'm like, oh, fuck you. Even in sparring, I'm like,
It just gives you a different intent behind the movements that you're doing.
yes,
right?
yes, exactly.
Think about the difference.
My hand maliciously, bro.
This is just coming to my head right now. It's just playing around, but like think about how different you would throw this right hand. If I'm trying to punch you in the face or hurt you, if I'm thinking, fuck you.
Yes.
Against fun you. like just as it's changing that one word is like it changes the intent in your mind because we it's the way we associate whatever it is we're thinking about, the connotation behind a provocative word like fuck you, is like I'm thinking about having ill intent as opposed to like just placing my hand there, so it's I would imagine it's just changing the intent behind the movement,
But it's such a big thing.
It is huge.
If
that's all, and you're right. That's all of life too. Is like that's why your mindset is so important. Is like, are you attacking life or are you just kind of casually allowing it to? And you need both. You can't be. I can't fight you the whole time, especially for 15 minutes straight or 25 minutes. One day I'll just
yes.
all this, dude. It's like
right. But then I on the prize still.
There's my opening.
Fuck, that's so good.
That's when you go, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, that's again, it's that circle, that learning of just constantly coming back to like, you have to find a truth, go out and do a bunch of exploring about it, and then you come back and you understand it a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And generally the truth is, dude, it never stops, right? So what we were talking about earlier, honor those who seek the truth and beware of those who know it. And but it's because it never stops. Every single time I think I know something, I figure out later on, I'm like, oh my God, dude, I didn't even know. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't even have the awareness to perceive that I didn't know, you don't know as you don't know. So but it generally is always a good balance.
Yeah.
It's very rarely are things super polarizing. Actually, you know what? Ben Askren and somebody else, I don't remember who it is, but there's two authors of this book, but Ben Askren has a book called Extreme Balance, and it's somewhere about this. It's not about necessarily finding a middle, but being extremely good at turning on each side, So it's like whenever I'm in that fuck you mode, it needs to be as much ill intent as possible. I don't want to just be so good. I don't want to be a little bit ill intent because I need to be closer to balanced. But when I decide to go, it needs to be 100% that. And then when I decide to relax, I need to go all the way back to being chill.
Yes.
But it's not hanging out in the middle necessarily, that balance. The balance is the extreme balance. There's a balance at the extremes of like each end. If that makes sense. So, but I think a lot of times people, dude, the truth is just so hard to find with anything that it's like, a never ending journey that a lot of people, you come across this truth, you know, a part of the truth, and it works and you have success with it or whatever. And then it's like, now I can't stop relying on this. Like, it's so hard for me to drop my ego to be like, maybe I don't understand this as deeply as I should. And maybe what's really hard for us is because I associate and identify with our thoughts and our beliefs so much that it's really hard to use our thoughts appropriately, in my opinion, as stepping stones to get us to a new way of thinking, right? And in order to do so, you have to let go of your previous way of thinking. So you almost constantly just have to admit you're wrong.
Ooh.
You know, because it's like, and maybe not wrong, because it's like, maybe you find a better way to think, and it's not necessarily that was wrong, but now you just have evolved it and you think about it deeper and differently. But you have to let go of the previous way. It's like, okay, that served its purpose. But now that, you know, I've heard people talk about this, like killing off your thoughts. You know, people hang on to them like they're children, and it's like, but you really have to kind of die to them to let them go. And so you can move on to the better way of thinking that is always going to be there.
Yeah. A lot of people, what I'm getting out of that is like just pure identity. A lot of people are willing to go to the grave for what they believe in and not change. You know, it's so strong. It's kind of like public speaking. It's like people would rather die than public speak, which is, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of the scary things. But people would rather die with their identity and not want to know the truth. Instead of having to admit that they're wrong. They're like, what are you talking about, man? Because it protects everything about what they know about themselves. Yeah. Which I think is like so interesting. So, man, you know, you got this fight coming up in August, man. Like, it's the first time you being out of the country. How are you approaching this particular fight? Right? Like, you're out of the country. And before you answer that, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this when did you meet Joe? I know we're like reverting back. When was he like a part of your, I guess you could say, team? Right?
So my last fight was April 26th or something like that this year, and I probably started working with him about a month before that fight.
Okay.
So
and how did you guys?
Basically a friend of a friend. You know, friend came out. A friend of a friend of a friend. A friend came out, and a friend knew Joe of that guy. You know, and then put them in touch. And then, you know, that friend told Joe about me, that I live out here, and he's like, oh, you should train with him. And so he helped me to get like a private lesson with him. Yep. And then we just been working together since then. Wow. So yeah.
Did that transaction go pretty smoothly? It's like, yeah, I'll train you. Was it like, you know, yeah, I've seen you in the UFC. Like, how did that transaction go? Or how was he like, was it hard for him to, you know, kind of corner you? Did it take some haggling a little bit? Was it like, hey man, you want to trade?
I can't speak from his side as far as like if it was like a difficult thing. But I mean, how it went was just basically, you know, we ended up getting the private lesson, and we enjoyed working together. And he's like, hey, if you want to train tomorrow, we can.
Oh, cool.
Like, yeah, sure. Dude, I would love to, dude.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Level of details. Oh my god, dude. Yeah. Joe's the man. Dude, he's the man. That's anyways.
My video guy Adam's a big fan, by the way.
Oh yeah, heck yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Dude, he's got a lot of big fans. He's the man. Yeah. Anyways, you know, worked together just one time, and then he's like, hey, if you want to train together again, we can. And I was like, dude, I would love to. And so then we trained again, and then I was sparring the next day, and I was like, hey, if you want to come, corner me in my sparring, that'd be sick. And he did, and we just kind of kept working together, and then it just, so
it's like a connection buildup.
It just really naturally happened. Yeah. So, which is what's really awesome.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting about that philosophy, because what I think about that is that now that I'm starting to do all this content creation, and then even with my good friend Adam, how we met was through the gym, but then I started training him in Muay Thai. And then I was like, oh, you need like some video. And it wasn't like, oh, I'll pay you for this, I'll pay you for that. It's just an investment in relationship. But then that's not how I thought of it, right? I was just like, I'll just, show you some stuff. And then it kind of led to one thing to another. Yeah. Now that leads back, why I'm saying that leads back to what we were talking about like social currency, right? It's kind of like, and even with us, dude, since personally for me, like that, I've told this to Andrew and Adam, I haven't trained with someone for over 15 years, right? As you can tell, but
what do you mean? I don't know what you mean by that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I haven't trained with like a personal like trainer.
Oh, like done privates.
Yeah, I should have been more clear. Yeah, done privates. But my point is that when I saw you and how you like lived your life, going back to like the brand thing, I was like, oh, this is the guy to train me. You know what I mean? It's not just like because you're in this high level thing, because I come across that at the gym that I go to. I've had people on this podcast, and I could probably easily be like, hey man, you know what I mean? But then when I saw your stuff, and not even us talking, you know, you just like kind of messaged me out of a whim one day, hey, you want to train? I was like, yeah, because I saw what you were about. I saw how you ate. I saw how disciplined you are. I saw your stories at the PI training with Joe Showing, of course. And and it's not even just that. It's just like how disciplined you are. It aligned with what I was about. So it's such an interesting thing that, you know, and then even with us, like I want to do work for you, just had to share, like, I think it'll just be good for you. And don't get me wrong, it's not so altruistic. Like, yes, it is altruistic, but then I get something out of it too, which means the feeling of like feeling good, right?
Yeah.
Feeling of gratitude. It's like, yeah, I have these resources. Why don't I share it to the world?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like, why not use it? What is it just going to sit here? Like, you know, if I was to use it for someone else, I'd use it on someone that I connect with, right? Like the relationships I'm building upon on Adam, you know, Andrew with sales, you know, he's my sales coach and stuff like that. And public speaking and all that, everything that I'm doing.
Yeah.
So I think everything's just like it's an investment, and it's that transactional thing is kind of like a weird kind of thing.
I totally get what you're
like.
saying.
It's like
but it's well. First off, thank you. I really appreciate all that because that's
true.
And then that's why I reached out to you too. Is that's how I felt, was like just seemed like, you know, I'm not really teaching many privates or anything like that. So I wanted to see if, you know, whoever I did get to work with, it would be somebody that I wanted to work with.
I'm honored, man. Yeah.
So you know, you were that guy, but yeah, you know, I think that, you know, you were talking about like that, you know, this transactional relationship along with it being altruistic. And I think it is both things. Like, it's like we benefit from doing the right thing. And so by being a good person, you also get the benefit of like building good relationships and like having other people help you out. And it's like, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that like that was your intentionality behind developing that relationship in the first place, but you get to reap the rewards of doing good things, you know, being a good person or like treating people well or so yeah, I think that all of life happens in like a perfect duality of like, you know, the yin and yang, right? The good and bad.
Sure,
everything.
I believe that.
I don't think that like we need to focus. I used to get I still do, honestly. I get way too caught up on making sure I'm doing the right thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And it's like sometimes I think it was, you know, one of the Stoics, they were talking about real virtue being done in the same with the understanding, or actually without even understanding that it's virtue, you know, because if you're doing the right thing because it's the right thing, there's usually some sort of like hidden motive, you know. But it's like we should get used to doing virtuous things automatically without having to even think about like, what am I going to get from this?
Exactly.
Like that's the only time it is actually virtuous, is whenever you're not thinking about what am I going to get from
100%. It's kind of like someone's telling themselves that they're honest. They're probably not if they keep saying that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you identify yourself, yeah, I'm an honest guy. It's kind of like, do you really have to keep, you know, repeating that? Like, you know, what you do for people and stuff like that. But my point is, even when you're not expecting something, it is just a universal law, right? And I believe it comes from, you know, I mean, I was just in church this fucking morning, and funny, I cussed after that. But then
I was just thinking that. I was
got like caught myself late.
I was
like,
in fucking church this morning.
yeah. But then they were just talking about, and it's a pattern when they read the scriptures and stuff, that regardless of what we think about it, if you over deliver and give, it's just a universal law that you will get back. It doesn't necessarily mean that if like say Adam comes here and then he does his video work for me, or if I, you know, train him, as I don't expect anything back from him, but you will get it back somehow. It doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be this. It could be wisdom. It could be the people that you meet. It could be love in your life.
And that's what's really amazing too about doing things with the understanding of not any one thing being transactional. You know, it's like I'm gonna train Chris, so then he, you know, can help me out with this. But or that's not even a good example of like, I'm gonna pull over on the side of the road and help this person fix their flat tire. Not because they're gonna give me money for it, but you know, hopefully the universe, you know, hopefully God rewards me, you know, somehow.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's like, that to me is the whole thing of storing up treasures in heaven. Even if I don't get that here on earth, even if I don't get paid back for my good doing, I know that I'm receiving it in heaven.
Exactly.
And that's where the real virtue is. And in my opinion, of like doing a good work, doing a good deed for something that transcends this physical lifetime, right? Is like, I don't care if I ever get that back in return, because I know somehow I will.
Exactly.
Even if it's
faith-based, right? It's faith.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you just have to trust your faith and accept everything. And yeah, man. Yeah, what a great conversation, man. And yeah, I think we'll lead it off with that. So, man, when are you fighting again, man?
September 27th.
Let's go.
Perth, Australia.
First time out of the country,
brother. It's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be
3-fight winning streak.
Yep. Against an opponent that's on a 3-fight winning streak also. That likes to scrap. Both like to scrap, and it's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited for this one. I'm really excited.
Dude, I'm gonna be at a PT's somewhere. I'm like, yo, Evan, what's up? Yo, shout me out with Joe Rogan.
I doubt Joe will be going to that. So.
Well,
yeah, unfortunately, but that's all good. Yeah, man, I'm super excited, dude. I think that there's a lot of great things right around the corner, dude. And just excited to keep doing the work and getting better, man. You know what's funny is this whole conversation we were having, dude, just like truly falling in love with the process. You know, just like, you know, Kobe has that great saying about, like, you know, basketball, you play a lot. There's a lot of games. You know, you play in the weekend and then right back to training, you know, that week. And it's like, oh, you lost this weekend? Good, get back to work.
Yes.
Like, oh, you won this weekend? Good, get back to work.
Yeah.
Like, the result doesn't matter. You're going to get back to the process regardless. And like truly falling in love with that, of just loving the work. And for me, where the truly loving the work and truly falling in love with the process is to continually figure out how much I don't know. Right. And I'm like, dude, I've given so much to it. Like, I feel like I've tried so hard.
Sure.
And I just keep figuring out, wow, I still don't know anything. And then you just fall in love. I'm just like, dude, I just want to find the answers.
Yes.
Like, that's all that's all I'm obsessed with now, is like
that.
Dude, how could I have spent so long and I still, every day when I leave the mats, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
Like, how could that possibly be? I just gotta, for my own sanity, I gotta find some damn answers. Of like,
right.
I gotta make sure I truly figure this stuff out as much as I possibly can. You know, I possibly can. And not just with fighting, but just like in life. And that's where falling in love with the process happens, I think.
Exactly. Dude, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I always like, maybe I'm Asian, so I like my numbers. But it is like, I think it's Peter Drucker. He was a behavioral economist. He just said, you can put a number on something, even the intangibles, like we can't see. Like, a lot of people, they identify with their success because of the money, right? Because the more it goes up, the more that, like, it shows them that they're quote unquote successful. But then there's something to that. Like, I don't want to bash it too much. I know you shouldn't be thinking about that. But then, like, say my YouTube numbers, I do the same thing. I'm like, oh, that went up. What should I do next? You know what I mean? It's like, if you I guess my point is that if you measure something, I think if you could put a number on it, you could kind of see where you're at. I think that's a good way to kind of say, okay, well, at least I'm progressing, and then it'll keep you going. Just a tip for someone that gets discouraged, right?
You can measure it, you can improve it.
Yes,
right?
So exactly. That's exactly what, like, the quote was. You know, I went on this long rant, but
it's all good.
I'm like, oh
yeah, like it's I forgot what I was going to say. But,
nah, that's it.
I think I was going to say something along the lines of like, but also at the same time, again, it comes back to the balance, right?
Yeah.
I think that it's just hardwired into us as human beings. Like, from a religious standpoint, it's our battle between our flesh and our spirit. It's you know, from a little bit more of a secular way of thinking, another way to think about that is your higher self and your lower self. Is your higher self, being your spirit, is the part of you that wants all of the good things down the road. That, like, I know what's best for me later on. You know, your lower self being like your flesh, which is what I want, what feels good right now. Right. And I think where most people run into problems is they give up what they want most for what they want now. And it's like, oh, I want to be, you know, maybe you say, I want abs, you know, and truthfully, I would say you don't necessarily want abs. You want to be healthy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you want to feel good. That's even,
you've been taking sales, because that's,
you know what, that's a whole, I'm getting off on the wrong topic anyways, but I'm going to get down a whole nother rabbit hole. But your higher self and your lower self, your spirit and your flesh, your lower self, what's wants what feels good right now, immediately gratifying.
Yes.
What's always good for you is what's not immediately gratifying. Right.
Agreed. 100%.
Delaying gratification for, okay, I know this isn't going to feel great right now. Or not even just that it doesn't feel great. I would rather be doing something else right now. I would rather be eating that donut than going to the gym.
Yeah.
But I know the trade-off is if I eat the donut, if I do what's easy now, it's hard later. If I do what's hard now, it's easy later.
Yeah.
But there's a constant battle between that. Because of our higher self, our spirit, we're spiritual beings, and we're visiting this place, and this we get to experience this place in this flesh.
Yeah.
And there's this constant battle between the two, what I want now and what I want most.
Yeah.
And so the reason I was saying all that is because you're like, oh, a lot of people will attach their success or how much money they make to their identity. Like, if I make this much money, it feels good or whatever. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be like, I don't think that. Because for a long time, I would think that, of like, what's actually virtuous is like to not care about money. And it's like, or numbers, or like our identity or status or any of these things, whatever. And, but dude, I think that's just part of the human experience. It's like, I think the best way to look at that is like, at least for my understanding right now, is just that, like, don't get so caught up in the way of thinking of like, I shouldn't be thinking this way. Like, I don't want to be money motivated. I don't need to worry about that. It's like, dude, our flesh, like what feels good now is like, we're always going to be attracted to that.
That's right.
And, but we should, not hide from that and turn away from it and pretend like it doesn't exist. Like, I don't have that desire. But like, even though you do, you feel it. I think the right way to look at it is like to turn and look at that thing and to say, yeah, I know I do feel this way, but I know there's a better way to act and live. So instead of like running and hiding from this desire that you think you shouldn't have, instead look it dead in the face and to be able to meet it with courage and to overcome it with, understanding what you want most, not what you want now.
Yeah. I mean, what I took for that is like it's almost the immediate gratification is just, for the most part, just terrible for you. I know we all crave it and it's a part of life, but then like we were talking about Tim Ferriss, he has this workout buddy that it was from a podcast. It's like hard. It's like easy life, hard life, or something.
Easy choices, hard life.
There you go. Yeah. Like one of his trainers said
hard
that,
choices, easy life.
Hard choices, easy life, right? You do the hard things now, you're going to have an easy life. It's like if you work out now, you eat healthy. Well, when you're 60, you're going to be moving around. That's just a general example, but you know what I mean? But yeah, man, I appreciate you, Evan, man. You're one of the most favorite people I talk to because of this.
Thank you, bro.
Dude, yeah. And then that training, man. Oh gosh, I've just seen, my mind exploded. Let's just say that. Like, I'm like, I don't know shit. Like probably how you're training with like Joe Chandler. And like, I was like, I don't know anything. You know what I mean? And then we meet.
If it makes you feel any better, that's how I feel every single day when I train.
Yeah, me too. I think.
Fuck. I don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, that's good. I don't know. Yeah,
that's so good.
We're okay.
Yeah.
It's part of the process.
At least I'm glad I think that way. I would be more worried thinking, fuck yeah, I know everything.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you too, man. We will, I'll see you Thursday, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.